Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm sitting in my office. For those of you who have watched previous videos, I kind of jump around from the mountains to the office and all that. So the most popular videos on my channel are actually the gear reviews and stuff, and sitting next to me here is the Salomon Advanced Skin 12 pack. This is the new one. It's got a little stuff pocket up top, which the older ones didn't have, and a couple of other little extra features. That is the most popular video on my channel, and I will be redoing that video because I have had some feedback in regards to the sound not being the greatest and lighting and all sorts of stuff like that. So I am looking forward to, I'm going to in the next couple of days do a review on this. If you aren't subscribed, down below is a little subscribe button. You can hit that and the bell button. It just helps the channel out, and it obviously just lets you guys know in your feed when videos are coming out and when I'm releasing stuff. So then on the other side over here are all these pieces of paper, and I've kind of drawn on all of them. And this is what I usually do before an ultra. So I've done a couple of them. I've done the 100-kilometer ultra trail Cape Town. I did the 65 the year before. I've done some road ultras and stuff like that here in Cape Town as well, the Two Oceans. I will hopefully be doing the Comrades one of these years because I was actually watching the most previous one, and just the hype around it and the crowd at pools and stuff like that is incredible. So I would like to also partake in that. That is strictly road. I am mostly on trails and in the mountains, and I do a lot of other things on this channel where I go on hikes and training runs and take you guys along. So hopefully you'll subscribe and kind of watch those if you are interested. I also do some training stuff. So what I am doing is I'm training for the Maxi Ultra 120-kilometer race, which is next weekend Saturday. So it's not this weekend coming up, it's next weekend Saturday. Depending on when you're watching this video, the video might be out. But what I usually do is I take a little GoPro with me, and I kind of update you guys and show you kind of where my head is at and what the scenery looks like, and kind of a little bit about the race, and share it on my channel. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I have a channel in the first place, is just filming and documenting and photography and stuff like that. So what I'm going to go through over here is just a couple of things that I do before my race and that I'm busy doing at the moment. So I thought it's probably a good idea to pop it on the channel. And if any of you guys are training for any ultras or anything and you find any of this helpful, then that's great. So what I usually do is I start writing out stuff, and your starting point is either a GPX file that they sometimes share on the race website. Obviously someone has maybe run the race prior to the year that you're doing it, or they've run the race and they've marked a route and stuff like that. So they give you the Garmin file or a GPX file, and on your Garmin Fenix watch or whatever watch you have, Sunto or whatever, you can upload that file and it'll show you the whole route plotted. Then after that you can get the map generally, and I'll put one on the screen over here on this side or this side, just of the Maxi Ultra. And I'm going to base all this obviously on the Ultra that's coming up, but your runs will vary, your maps will vary, and the data you have from the race organizers will vary. So I have got a map on this side of the screen here that you can see that has all the aid stations 1 to 9 marked out. It's got an elevation map so you can see all the climbs and stuff like that. The first climb's a biggie in comparison, and the rest are pretty chilled, I think. I say that now, and you'll probably see the updated video and I'll probably suffer through all of them. But the first one's definitely a big one. And I'm actually going to go on Saturday, and I will release a video obviously pretty soon after that, just to recce that route on Saturday morning. I'm going to go do a run, and I'm going to actually see what it's all about. I hear that it's an amazing route here in Franschhoek in South Africa. And yeah, so I'll show you guys what that looks like, because in the race we start at 5 in the morning, and obviously you're going to be going up part of that route in quite low light. And if you guys have seen my other videos, cameras that I've got that I take on the trail don't love low light video. So over here, basically what I've got is I've kind of made a start and a finish line, and I've marked out on this map or on this drawing over here where my drop bags are. So that's the first thing I usually am going to focus on, is my gear. And I'll probably make another video just showing you when I do pack this pack, what I'm taking and where I'm switching it out. So this is a bit of an overview, but I'm just marking my drop bags so I know where I can drop things off and where I can pick things up. And then I mark my climbs as well in the elevation, just so I kind of know where the big climbs are. Now, luckily my first climb is from 0 to 27 Ks. That's a climb obviously including the downhill section. I'm going to go recce that on Saturday, and then I will kind of know roughly what pace I will do that in. I can then kind of figure out from previous races and previous runs what I can kind of do for the rest of the 93 kilometers throughout the race. So that is kind of one thing. Then I have a Maxi Ultra nutrition sort of guide, and I will do a little write up and stuff like this underneath, but I just list the food that has worked for me, and you should probably put this on a nutrition sort of spreadsheet and stuff, which I'm going to be doing starting the next season of training. I'm going to be tightening up a lot of my training, and I'm going to be focusing a lot more on the external stuff, nutrition and everything else that can kind of go wrong during an ultra. So you can join up and I will kind of show you guys how I'm going to kind of approach that stuff. As someone that is, and that's a disclaimer, mid-pack, doing this for fun to see how far I can push myself. And I think I said a couple of years ago to a mate before I was running that I wanted to do a 100-miler. That has been the goal. I'm not just going to couch to a 100-miler like some people do in a couple of months or something and go into it untrained. I did the 65 maybe 3 years ago now. Then I did the 100, and now I'm doing a 120, and hopefully early or mid next year I'm going to do a 100-miler. I'm just choosing between, you get the, here in South Africa, you've got the Addo Elephant, you've got the Ultra Trail Cape Town's now got a 100-miler, you've got a Car Kloof, which is near Durban, you have, what else do you have? Ultra Trail Drakensberg, that's got a 160k 100-miler. So I'm just picking like heat acclimation and obviously climbing and elevation and altitude and all that sort of stuff. I'm looking through all of that data, and I'm going to see which one will suit me best for the first one I do, and also which one I'm the most interested in doing myself. So after that, I just write down the aid stations, and with the help of actual Garmin, I use the Pacing Pro strategies on Garmin. If you go to your Garmin, and I'll put things up on either side of the screen. If you do have a Garmin, I'm sure the other watches do have software that does this, but it's a Pace Pro strategy. So you put in your kilometers. So what I did was I left out the climb because I kind of can work out over this weekend what the climb is going to do. And after the climb, I put in the last 93 Ks, and I put in, say, what I want to do it in, 10 minutes a K on average or whatever. And then from there, you kind of can adjust that middle center line to either make it a negative split in either direction, positive or negative split, which means that from the beginning, say for instance, you're going to be a little bit faster halfway through that 93, and then you're going to slowly start dropping down to a bit slower in the second half of the race. Positive split obviously is the other way around. So I did that, and I've worked out where I will be at aid stations, and that kind of helps for me because this race doesn't have a GPX file, so I can't look at previous races or previous runs or previous times. This I think is a pretty new route as well, so I can't look up people on Strava, which I normally do, and kind of check how fast or how slow they did. So I'm going in it quite blind, which is, I mean, it's going to be quite fun, I think. And I've worked out a sort of a timeline with all the times, and then I can also let supporters, my wife, know where I will be, roughly what time I'm going to be finishing. And I usually do 2 or 3 of these. I do like a best case scenario, a worst case scenario, trying to get in before the, I think it's a 30-hour cutoff, which I could basically just walk the whole thing, or sort of kind of midway. And then we bank and we go on the best case to the midway sort of thing, and that's where we go. And I do have a cell phone on me, and I do have a means of communication throughout the race, so I will be able to say, listen, I'm feeling great and I'm just a bit above time. I'm also going to use my Garmin Fenix to use ultra tracking and all that. That is pretty cool that I can do that, and I can kind of map it out. And then after the race, I can also evaluate all the stuff I've got, and I can just see how far off I was, or how much faster I was, or how I can kind of use that data to adjust for the next race, which is pretty cool. What else do I have here? That covers that. Food and drinks, obviously nutrition, what food works for me. And that's what I was going to say, you guys, was just work out during your long runs, eat as much as you can, and try and figure out what actually works for you during those long runs and during your longer ultra races and stuff, because that is quite a big deal when it comes to ultra running and stuff, is your nutrition and your hydration. Those are kind of some of the main reasons, along with blisters and all that sort of stuff, of people DNFing and dropping out, did not finish. So I've got food that works for me, the food that I'm going to pack, and the food that I'm going to pack in my drop bags. And I've got a couple of drink mixes, some Powerade and stuff like that. That is also going to work for me, that I'll have in various bags and take in my pack, obviously. And besides that is the drop bags. So I will be making a video, as I've said, going over the drop bags, what exactly I'm going to have in each drop bag. And then afterwards I can do like a breakdown of how the race went and what I used, what I didn't use. I am very much into my research about things, and I think just the more data you have and the more stuff you write down prior to the race, during the race, and after the race, you can kind of go into the next one feeling a little bit more prepared. And mentally, that's a pretty cool thing as well, because you kind of know what works and what didn't. So that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's just a little overview of kind of what I've got. If you've got any questions, as usual, comment section down below, just shove them in there and I'll try and get to answering all of those. Sometimes for some weird reason in YouTube, I don't get told that there's a comment and I find it like a couple of weeks later. So apologies in advance if I have written back to you a couple of weeks or so after you commented. But yeah, as I say, subscribe to the channel. I will put this this Salomon Advanced Skin 12 review up soon. I have also got the Speed Goats, the Hoka Speed Goats, the 5th variation of them. Those I will be running in. Those shoes have been, I've used them since the 4th, so not as long as a lot of people, but they have been a great addition to my trail running kit. And I most probably won't be running in any other shoe anytime soon. As for other reviews and stuff like that, let's see, I've picked up another jacket from Salomon. This is one of their waterproof Bonatti jackets. I was using, just a heads up for you guys, I was using the Bonatti Pro. It was a blue version, you may have seen in videos. It's got taped seams in it and stuff, and I know for some races a waterproof jacket with taped seams is on the compulsory kit. And this jacket, similar price, maybe a few £100 less, but very similar jacket, and there's nothing about tape seams. So if you buy it and you don't know and you go to a race, I don't know how hectic they'll be about it, but if you look in this jacket, these seams are not taped. So yeah, that's that. Do with that information as you will. The other thing I've got here is this quiver. I don't know if I showed you guys, I'm sure I might have, or maybe I didn't actually have it. But this quiver for my poles, trying to get them out when they are in this quiver is as difficult as you just saw when they're on your pack as opposed to when they're off. For some reason, these are the black diamond poles that I've got, carbon Z poles. I do have a video on these. Love the poles, gonna take the poles for the climbing section. I don't really like them on downhills or straight flataways or anything, but I'm definitely gonna take them on climbs. I'll let you guys know how that is. This is the Salomon Quiver that goes onto the back of the bag. You can fit it like that or on one side. Find one side better, it kind of leaves the back open for you to get into and stuff. This thing, when it tightens like this piece grabs your poles. So you're putting them in and you're constantly like hooking them like this, trying to get them in. And you've actually got to loosen this completely and then just put them in that much and then actually shake them when they're on your back to get them to actually go in and then tighten. The same when you're taking them out, unloosen this completely and then you can actually manage to pull them out properly. Because if this is even a little bit tight, you find it grabs the bottom of them and it's very difficult to take them out. So while I think this is probably the best way that I've seen and that I've tried, besides attaching them to my bag and stuff like that, you also do get belts, like waist belts you can put around your waist, and you can actually put your poles like that behind. But I find just the width of the pole behind your back like that, you can kind of see how long they are. My elbows kind of get in the way of them a little bit because they sit just kind of below. So that, along with the other things, kind of irritates me about this. Also when these are out like this and it's sideways over your back, these kind of flap in your face the whole time over your shoulder over here, which may just be me, but it's something that annoys me. So I put them on the bag, one side like that, so they sit behind this shoulder over here and they sit over there and they just stay out of your face, which is pretty cool. So that's about it. I found a really rad little MP3 player off Amazon. It's a SanDisk Pro Clip Sport Pro or something like that. You guys can look it up. I'm not obviously sponsored by any of these companies or anything, but I do a lot of research, and I look up all the stuff that I get for races and for training and stuff, and I use this stuff weekly when I go out on all my training runs. I take all my stuff with, especially these poles, just to get used to using them. You have to get used to using them before, because I was using them incorrectly when I first started and kind of stabbing the ground in front of me, and it's intuitive to a sense, but not really. You kind of have to watch a few videos, check how to use them, and then just make sure you're kind of flinging them forward and kind of putting them in and then getting over and then pushing backwards. So you're not doing the foot strike thing where you're striking your heel and you're pushing against yourself. You know that thing when you're running? Similar thing, you don't want to be pushing forward with your poles when you go in and you push forward, because then you're kind of stopping yourself from moving forward. So yeah, go on a tangent about that. But those are a couple of things that I've accumulated throughout the couple of months that are helping me with trail running and stuff. You don't have to go and buy a whole lot of stuff for ultra running and for trail running. There's a pretty short compulsory list for this race, and I will obviously just put that up, but that's the normal. A whistle, I think it is 2 flasks with up to 1 liter of water, but obviously you take whatever you wish. I will be taking a little bit more for some sections if need be, depending on the weather, and also it depends on how far apart to the aid stations are. Then what else do you need? Waterproof jacket I will be taking in my bag. Then obviously your race number needs to be on you most of the time. What else was there? They do recommend, obviously with mountain ultras and mountain running and stuff like that, the weather is vastly different up at the top than it is below, and Cape Town here, weather seems to change pretty fast as well. So I will be taking a long pair of pants and a buff and a cap and some sunglasses and a couple of other things that you don't necessarily have to take, but probably a good idea to take. Also like a base layer I will be taking to go under, because I mean, just wearing a short sleeve, if your short sleeve is wet or very sweaty and you've got this over, these do breathe, but it's not a very comfortable sort of time just wearing that for extended periods of time. So I will be doing that. But as I said, I will be making all these different videos kind of going up and through this race just to kind of show you guys. The next one will probably be the review of this bag, and also me packing this bag for the ultra and me packing bags for the drop bags. There's one at 27k and there's one at 89, I think, for my race coming up. So it'll be pretty cool to see what I'm putting in those bags, and it'll be pretty cool for me to come back afterwards and kind of look at the list of what I did pack in them and kind of go over what I used and what I didn't. So hope you guys are enjoying the videos on this channel. Thank you very much for following along and subscribing. If you guys aren't following me on Strava, just follow me on Strava. I like looking at your guys' workouts and stuff, and you can follow mine and see what I'm doing throughout the year. So it's a pretty cool place. It's not super social, but it's quite nice to just see what everyone's up to. So I tend to just follow people back on that and just see what everyone's training for. And also you upload your races and all that stuff, which is pretty cool. So yeah, hope you're all well, keep well, and run safe. And I will catch you guys in a couple of days with another video. Cheers.